Hey everybody, welcome back to Live at 9:05.
Hi everyone.
Our sign's not here, you can't see it, but you are in the right place. It is 9:05 and we are live.
Yep, we're right here on the sound stage.
That's right.
Doing our thing.
Doing our thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Ralphie, hey, were you at the drive-in last night?
We were a little late, but
you
yeah.
were late to the drive-in.
Yeah.
I helped with parking again.
Was it fun?
I think I kind of got the hang of it this week. I really was in my own element. Yeah. It was pretty great. It was
sounds
colder.
like fun.
It was colder.
I don't think I could do that. I'm probably too short. People wouldn't see me if I was standing out in the parking lot.
Oh, you know what? That would be pretty fun, though.
It would be.
You'd be a good color. Like, I feel like you'd grab everybody's attention and they wouldn't be able to look away.
Yeah, but you know what is fun is the road trip to get there and back.
I know. How many of you guys saw Ralphie's road trip with Pastor Ben?
Yeah.
Super funny.
Yeah, you know what, though?
What?
Well, it turns out Pastor Dave doesn't even know karate.
What?
Yeah.
He doesn't?
Yeah. Doesn't know it at all. If
Who
you don't
would've
know what
thunk
we're
it?
talking about, well, maybe we'll have to post the video on YouTube.
That's a great idea. So you
Yeah.
guys can listen and know why Ralphie's wondering about Pastor Dave and karate.
Yeah. So we did some videos, Mr. Ben and me. We did these videos as we're driving
Yeah.
to the drive-in service.
So fun.
Yeah, it's
If
fun.
you've not come to the drive-in service, you won't want to miss it. We have lots of fun things planned. It's super fun. You got to bring snacks in your car. What
Yeah,
a time.
But you know what else? Like
What?
on YouTube, we have everything is
Also
on YouTube.
true.
So you can watch also other Live at 905s for the other
Yes.
stories, like last week's story.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You can also watch our midweek meetup where
Yep.
we have things for all ages.
And my buddy Leo,
Yes.
he does a Wednesday video too.
For our
Leo
preschool
the Lion.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fun.
Hey, I'm glad I brought up Leo.
Oh, yeah? What's
Yeah.
up?
Well, are we starting?
Yeah, let's start. Tell
Yeah.
me about Leo. Is something going on?
I actually have a problem that I wanted to talk to you about.
Oh.
Yeah, it has to do with Hoagie and
Good
my
old
friend
Hoagie.
Russell,
Russell.
who you've never met.
Yes, but
Yeah.
he's the one that had that birthday party, right? Or just
yeah,
a party?
Yeah. We watched a really fun movie that we were allowed to watch.
Yes,
Russell's-
you guys made a good decision that night.
We did, and
Mhm.
Russell's mom talked to Hoagie's mom and my mom, and they decided on what movie we could watch together, and it was a lot of
Perfect.
fun.
I'm so proud of you in that
Yeah.
all that situation,
It was a
Ralphie.
lot of fun.
Very cool. But now what's going on this time? What problem do you have?
Well, you know what? A lot of kids have been playing with sidewalk chalk lately.
Yes,
you noticed
I've
that?
seen that. I've seen lots of really cool designs and people writing encouraging messages.
Yeah,
How cool is
yeah.
that?
Well, Leo and his family
Mhm.
were out, and they were doing some of that on their sidewalk in front of their cave
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fun.
because they're lions.
So they live in a
cave.
den.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And also, I probably shouldn't call them a family. They're a pride.
That's right.
Yeah. That's what a group of lions is called.
Yep.
Yeah.
hmm
Group of puppets is still called a family, though.
Good to know.
Yeah. Just so you know. Yeah.
Yep.
But he drew some really neat stuff out there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, some really encouraging stuff out there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but
so
then-
what's the problem?
Well, the problem is Russell. And Russell's not really the problem, but Russell has a problem, and I needed help with his
Okay.
problem.
Okay, so what's the what problem is Russell having?
Well, there's our neighborhood. We have Leo in our neighborhood, and me, and Hoagie, and Russell. And then
Mhm.
there's the Frog Brothers.
The Frog Brothers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The Frog Brothers, they're kind of hard to get along with. They're not the very nicest people in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Russell's friends with them.
Yeah.
And so I hang out with them sometimes,
Mhm.
but not too much.
Okay.
But they were trying to get Russell to take their own sidewalk chalk and go to Leo's sidewalk and write mean things about Leo
Oh no.
on Leo's own pictures.
Well, that's not nice at all.
No, and I don't have any problem. I know exactly that I should not do that at all. When they
Yeah.
started talking about doing that, I was just like, nope, not me.
Uh-huh.
And Hoagie was like, nope, not me.
Mhm.
And Russell was like, well, maybe, because he wants to, I think he wants the Frog Brothers to think he's cool.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I'm not sure exactly what to do.
Ralphie, I mean, it sounds like you really care about Russell and you want Russell to make the right decision.
Russell and I and Hoagie, we're good friends.
Right.
And, I'd love for the Frog Brothers to do the right thing too, but they aren't as good of a friend with me.
Right.
But Russell,
Mm-hmm.
I feel really bad that Russell thinks that he could do that.
You know, I hear your whole situation, and I love that you're caring about Russell. And actually, this reminds me of another story from the Bible where three friends need to encourage one another, and they stand up for what is right together.
I was really hoping you would say that.
I was wondering if you wanted some sort of story or something.
Yeah. No, I really was hoping because I don't know what to do.
Well, Ralphie, I think that we can help with a story and kind of work through what you could do in a situation like this.
Awesome. You know, because I was hoping to say that I already have a juice box on my chair over there. And
sounds great.
A little thing of popcorn.
So you were ready for the story time.
I was ready.
With your story chair.
I got that all ready before I came over here because I was just hoping there'd be a story. So, okay, I'm going to go over, sit down now. There we go.
Well, as Ralphie's going and finding a seat, let me remind you guys what we came from last week. Last week, we talked about 4 men. Not just 3, but 4. We talked about Daniel and then Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. But do you remember their names that we know them by now? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 4 friends had to choose to do what they knew was right and what God called them to do that was right while they were in captivity in Babylon. And God made them stronger because they chose to do what he said was right. So these men ended up being really, really smart and wise, and the king told them that they were 10 times better than everyone else.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Ben.
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And Daniel.
You're reviewing our story from last week.
Reviewing from last week, yeah.
Jen?
Yes, Ben?
What's the story you're planning on telling today?
Well, this week, Ralphie had a problem with some of his friends, and he needs to be encouraged to stand up for what he knows is right with his friends. And I thought we could continue our story with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
I wondered if you were going in that direction.
You're so good, Pastor Ben.
I also wondered if maybe
yes,
we could switch things up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And
what do you have in mind?
Well, I kind of thought this is the direction you're going in, the story you're going to talk about.
Yes.
And I remember you've done something kind of cool with this story before.
I actually have done something with this story.
Yeah. And so I was wondering if maybe you could do that this week. If you would do the picture part with some of your art stuff, and I could tell the story, because I can't draw the way you can draw.
Well, that's nice of you.
And I can't do, like, some of the artistic stuff that you do.
I would love to help out.
At least I can't do it in the way that you do it.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
I mean, I do my own thing.
Yeah.
But
you're an artistic guy, Pastor Ben.
But this was really cool. So I think I would like to tell the story this time.
Okay.
And you could do the visual.
I love where your head's at. Let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I just happen to have my Bible right here.
Perfect. I happen to have
bookmarked to just the right
some
spot.
art supplies.
Hey, that is perfect.
Perfect.
Well, let's talk about our story then.
Let's do it. Okay.
So Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they rose up in the ranks, and they were actually getting into a really good spot as far as their job went. Like, they had a really good job working with the people in the high court of the kingdom.
Yeah.
So this is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I can never remember their Hebrew names.
Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
She can remember, but I can't. And so this story is actually, I don't know where Daniel was during this story. I think he might have even had just a different job at a different place, and maybe even a higher job than they had. And so he had to stay like back in the kingdom, in the capital city. But we're looking at Daniel chapter 3 right now. And in Daniel chapter 3, it says, King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold in the plain of Durin in the province of Babylon. So there is our image of gold. It says, King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold 60 cubits high.
Oh, you said 60?
Yeah.
Let's make him a little taller here. I'm giving him a hat.
Nice. All right. So, he had this image of gold that was 60 cubits high, and he summoned all the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials to come to the dedication of the image he'd set up. Now, a dedication is when you first open something. You know, sometimes you might see on TV where they have like a ribbon ceremony where they cut a ribbon in front of a door, and they're dedicating the building. And sometimes you might have when you're sending a team out on a mission trip, we dedicate them on their mission, you know?
Yeah.
But in this case, this dedication was not a good situation. So the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials assembled for this. Now, that's basically all the bigwigs That's basically all the people who were
Most
just
important
high
men.
up, the most
Yeah.
important people in the kingdom, according to that job that they had working with the king. And this is where they made that rule that you've probably heard about that's going to lead into what's going to happen with our three guys here.
Mm-hmm.
Then the herald loudly proclaimed, "Nations and peoples of every language, this is what you are commanded to do. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, whatever that is, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up." There's that image of gold.
Mm-hmm.
"Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace."
Ooh. I think I have something for that, Ben.
Yeah, I want you to notice actually what Miss Jen has already set up here, because
Mm-hmm.
you know where this is going. They heard the sound of,
I'm going to move. It's
his
going to
hat's
lose
going
his
to
hat.
stay there.
I'm going to move our...
Yeah, I'll move these guys
Oh,
here.
perfect. Because I have a furnace ready to go.
So here's our guys, and I'll take our statue here. And you'll notice that when Miss Jen made this picture of the statue, she already had some people who were bowing down.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll also notice she did not make any extra Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's. She drew them standing up, and they're going to stay standing up.
Oh, Ben, I got to clean out my brushes before this next part.
Hey, there's no water in this story, Jen.
I was waiting for this moment. I just need a bigger brush. It's an artistic thing.
Nice little artistic sprinkle you're giving me there.
You're welcome.
Next week, Jen.
We'll
Watch
see.
out next
We'll
week.
see.
So as soon as everyone heard the sound of the horn, they bowed down. They heard all the music, and everyone bowed down and worshiped this image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And we know that's one of the 10 Commandments, is not to worship anything other than God, because God is the only true God. And he's the only thing worth giving worship to.
It's true.
These people did not believe in God, but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did. And some people noticed that they were standing. Now, this is tough, because what was the punishment for not bowing down? The punishment was to be thrown into a fiery furnace. These men, though, they stood up. They stayed standing. And I want to just stop for a minute and talk a little bit about where these men came from and their families. Statue is about to fall down. And their families, the families are not in this story, but the families are all over this story. And why? What do I mean when I say that? I mean that when these kids were growing up as kids, they were taught what was right, and they were taught what was good, and they were taught how to follow God. And here they are now as adults, surrounded by a whole crowd of people who were doing something that they knew they shouldn't do, and they remembered those things that they learned when they were kids. They remember those things that their moms and dads taught them.
Yeah.
And so I just want to stop there for a moment, Jen,
Yeah.
if we can, and just give a little shout out to moms out there.
Yes.
And say Happy Mother's Day to you moms.
Happy Mother's Day.
Mom, Happy Mother's Day.
My mom, Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
If you're watching.
So, and
Yeah.
honestly, like what happened with these guys is similar to us right now. Like when
For sure.
my mom, the things that she taught me, and my dad too, but the
Yeah.
things that they taught us when we were kids are things that we still remember
Right.
now.
I even think about last week when they made that decision to stand up for what they knew was right when they were in a different land as well.
Yeah, that was stuff that they brought from home, that they had learned before they were kidnapped and brought into this kingdom.
And they were young then too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to stop for a moment there and just give a shout out to moms, because it is, Mother's Day.
It is.
So some people saw that they weren't bowing down, which was very easy to see. Everyone else is bowing down, and they're just standing up. When my dad would tell this story when I was a kid, I remember him one time telling the story and saying, I don't know about you, but maybe I would have noticed that my shoe was untied at that moment and just bowed down to, tie my
your shoe a little bit. To
But
pretend that you were
you
you
were-
were bowing down, but you
well,
weren't.
I'm not bowing down. I'm just tying my shoe.
Mhm.
They didn't do anything like that. They stood. They stood together. And I think it was a lot easier because even though everyone around them was bowing down, they weren't standing alone. They were standing together. But they were noticed. And some of these guys who noticed them went to King Nebuchadnezzar and said, May the king live forever. Your majesty issued a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipe, and all kinds of music must fall down and worship the image of gold. And whoever does not will be thrown into a blazing furnace. And then they said, but there's some Jews over there. They pay no attention to you, your majesty. They don't serve your gods, and they don't worship the image you set up. And Nebuchadnezzar burned with rage. He was so angry.
Yeah.
And he brought them before him, and he said to them, is it true that you do not serve my gods or worship my image of gold? I'm going to give you one more chance.
Wow.
He gives them one more chance.
One more chance.
And then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego basically said, we don't need one more chance. We're still not going to do it. They said, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your hand. But even if he doesn't, we want you to know we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. So now they're not just looking around and seeing that everyone else is doing this. Now they're actually looking around and seeing there is a furnace that is ready for them. And I think that the furnace was actually there because it might have even been the furnace that they were using to melt the gold to make the statue. I've done a little bit of research into this story, and that's one of the things that they say is, why was a furnace there? Why did King Nebuchadnezzar think, let's throw people in a furnace if they don't do it? It's because the furnace was right there, and it was something they could easily see.
Something available to
Exactly.
them.
It was a very easy thing for them to use. He was furious with them. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual.
Hotter?
Hotter. Get some red in there, yeah. High flames.
Big flames.
He commanded some of the strongest soldiers in the army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace.
Wow.
Here, you want to
put them? Yep, I'll put them in.
Jen is my really strong soldier, I guess, because she's
right
throwing
here.
them in. There they are. In
Ben just
that
doesn't want to get paint on his hand.
I really don't want to get paint on me.
So they're in the furnace.
They are in the furnace. And
they're kind of floating in the furnace.
Yeah. And I want you to notice, like, we're painting fire on them right now, not because they're on fire, but because they were in that fire.
Yeah. It
Boys
wasn't
and
just
girls,
around them.
Ladies and gentlemen, they were in the fire. It wasn't around them like Miss Jen said. It wasn't in front of them. It wasn't behind them. They were in that fire. The soldiers died because the fire was so hot, by the way. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped up to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire? And they said, yeah, of course, certainly, that's exactly what it was. And he said, look, I see 4 men. I see 4 men in the fire, and one of them, the 4th, looks like a son of the gods. Now, there it is. Now, we don't know who that was. It might have been an angel.
It could have been.
It could have been an angel. It could have been God's Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
It could have been, and this is the one that I kind of like the most when people talk about it, is that it could have been even Jesus before he was born as a baby.
Which is a little confusing.
It is, but it is something that we can talk about another day, maybe.
That's true.
All I know is that this happened so that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and everyone around them could see that their God was with them. Their God was with them.
Yeah.
And when I think about the story, I wonder, like, and I want you to stop for a moment right now, too. And I want to ask you, what do you think? What do you think they were thinking when they were getting thrown in the furnace? And I started thinking about some Bible verses that I wonder if they were thinking about from the Old Testament. I want you to stop for a minute, though. Can you think of what maybe a Bible verse that they might have been thinking about as they were getting thrown into the furnace, as they were getting walked away from this nice, safe building into this very unsafe building? They're getting walked toward the fire. The guards who are throwing them in are burning. It's so hot. And then they get thrown in there. Can you think of some Bible verses that you might think of?
That you might think of maybe when you're afraid or something difficult's coming.
And so when I was thinking about what they might be thinking about, I thought about some of the Bible verses that I think about when I'm going through a very hard time or have a very hard thing I need to do. One of them is from Isaiah. And this is, I really wonder if they were thinking about Isaiah's words here, because Isaiah says, do not fear, I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze, for I am the Lord your God. I wonder if they were thinking about that when they were walking toward that fire. And then when they were standing in that fire with God right there. Psalm 91 is another one that I think about when I think about this. in Psalm 91, it says, He, God, will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. In other words, he's protecting you the way a mother bird protects the babies.
Yeah.
You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrows that fly by day. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. And I wonder if they were thinking he's going to command his angels concerning us as we walk into this fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always my favorite verse.
Yep.
Joshua
you gotta throw in your favorite verse.
1:9. Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you are. When they came out of the fire, the Bible says the people around them were amazed. They saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies, nor was a hair on their heads singed, and their robes were not scorched. Oh. And there was no smell of fire on them.
That's amazing. That's one of my favorite parts of this story, actually. I don't know if I've told you this before.
No.
But it's
the
one
smell
of my
part?
the smell part, because even just sitting next to a bonfire, you end up smelling like smoke for days. Or even cooking something. If you've ever been in the kitchen with your mom and they're cooking something, you could smell like the food from that very, very small fire. They were in a furnace and they didn't even smell like smoke.
Or even when you burn popcorn in the microwave, that smell just sticks with you forever.
Does.
It's a really bad smell I don't like. But anyway, that's the thing I want you to remember, is that these three friends stood together, but they weren't standing alone. God stood with them. And Jesus, God, stands with us. With us.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go
Okay.
Over this way. I need to go do something.
Okay.
And I'll let you talk to Ralphie.
Sounds
about
good.
his
Thank
whole
you so much for
situation.
sharing the story.
Yeah,
Ben.
no, it's a fun story.
It's kind of fun.
I love telling this story. I've written a couple comic books about this story, and
It's perfect.
yeah, and thank you for doing the art. I love this when you pull that away and you see that there
Isn't
was
that a
someone
neat
in the
moment?
flames with them.
You know what another neat moment was? When I
What?
got to clean out my brushes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to go wash off this dirty paint water now.
Thanks, Beth. Oh, my friends, I do love this story. I love that moment where they don't even smell like smoke, because God not only saved them, but he showed his power even by making them not even smell like a fire. And this story actually reminds me of one of my favorite songs that I've been listening to on repeat lately. It's called Another in the Fire. I don't know if maybe your parents have listened to it or you have, but it talks about how when you're going through a fire, there's another person there standing with you. Or even if you're in an ocean, he's holding back the sea, like in the story with Moses and the Red Sea. But you guys might not be facing an actual fire. You might be facing a situation that's difficult, that you need to be reminded that you're not alone, because Jesus is there standing with you. There's another person in the situation that's difficult, the fire, with you. Hey, Ralphie.
I don't have actual fire.
No, it's not actually fire.
No.
But it's a difficult situation where
Yeah.
you have to stand up with your friends for what you know is right.
Yeah, I think that you've helped my problem.
Yeah.
And I think I just need to encourage Russell to do what's right.
Right.
And Hoagie and I will even stick by Russell
Yes.
and be with him when he tells the Frog Brothers.
Right. And isn't
Not
that
gonna
great
do
that
it.
you can stand together, but you can also remember and remind Russell and Hoagie that Jesus is standing with you guys too and giving you strength.
Yeah, that's the best thing.
Because you're not alone.
Yeah, you're not standing alone. You're
Right.
standing together.
Like you have each other and you have Jesus.
Yeah.
What could be better?
Well, everyone's talking about how we're all alone together and we're all in this together when they're talking about all this whole time when we're not
Yeah.
supposed to be like going to stores and stuff.
Right.
But you know what? We're never alone.
Never.
And we're together, but we're also together with God.
Exactly.
That's a really cool picture, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Do you
I don't
see
wanna touch it.
the fourth person? Yeah, don't touch it. It'll get
It's
all
all
over your
wet.
felt.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I really appreciate that story, Miss
Yeah.
Jen.
You'll have to let me know how it goes.
We will.
Okay.
We will.
All right. Thank you
All right.
so much for coming, Ralphie.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Ralphie.
See ya.
So
See you later.
Oh, had to get one final
Maybe,
goodbye.
maybe come to the drive-in or
Oh,
something.
one more.
Or watch our video on YouTube.
Bye, Ralphie. Oh,
Bye.
oh. Ralphie just didn't want to say goodbye, guys. Now, I want to remind you guys, remember, whatever fire you might be facing this week, whatever you're dealing with, that there's another one in the fire with you, standing next to you. It's Jesus. He's never going to leave you. He's always going to be there. Stand with your friends, stand with your family, and remember, Jesus is standing with you as well. Have a great week.
I'll remember it.
Oh, Ralphie.